How's it going, folks? Stu here. Twitter. You and I both know it, I should hope, as that lovely, harmonious landscape, free of conflict, where children run through the field, candy cane kittens fall from the sky. It's actually, of course, none of those things. It's an absolute hellscape where conflicts go to get worse. But it is now not just the place where discourse goes to die an untimely death. It is also the source of an actual real-life film. We have an adaptation of a Twitter thread on our hands, folks. It's called Zola. It's out this week here in the UK, I believe, and I managed to catch it slightly earlier at Sundance London Film Festival over the weekend. Shall we have a chat about it? Not sure why I did that. Get to the next bit. So, Zola, it's released by A24, immediate yes please, directed by Janiza Bravo, and as I said, it's an adaptation of a 148 tweet Twitter thread from years ago? And you either know the thread I'm talking about, in which case it was fun, wasn't it? Or you don't, in which case don't look it up, just go check the film out and let it wash over you with its absurdity. Because Zola the thread, and naturally, I guess, Zola the film, is a little bit batshit, isn't it? There's not really any other word for it. It's just batshit. But essentially, it's a story of a woman that meets another woman at her job as a waitress, and her new friend invites her along on this kind of road trip to Florida in hopes of getting a bit of money from doing some dancing in some strip clubs. All I'm saying. And it's a weird one to watch this because if you know that it is based off of this crazy Twitter thread, immediately that is sort of its own thing really anyway. But you kind of get the worry that it might become a bit of a gimmick. Just sort of like they felt like they needed to cash in on this Twitter thread and the film wouldn't really do much to justify putting it on the big screen. And I don't know if it necessarily avoids that entirely, but I will say it was a really fun time. I mean, undeniably crazy, and I had an absolute hoot with it. It stars Taylor Page as Zola, and she's great in the film. It's just fun watching absurd shit happen to a character that is very much kind of a fish out of water. She does a really good job of feeling like she always kind of weirdly has control of the situation, but is clearly like, what the hell's going on at basically all points in the film. But Riley Keough is the friend that Zola meets in her story, and I mean, she is crazy. I've said it on the channel before and I'll say it again. I love Riley Keough, and one of the things I love so much about her as an actress is that every film I see her in is different to the last. She's got such great versatility in her performances, and this is just continuing that trend, maybe to the max. She's clearly having a lot of fun with the role, and sometimes I guess it does sort of teeter a little bit into caricature, but it works in the film, and it's an interesting performance to pull off. And pull it off she does, and the relationship between the two of the central actresses really does work in the film. When it needs to, their energies definitely match, but at the same time, when it needs to be the other way, where, you know, one of them is on the other end of the spectrum entirely, they sell that as well. So loved watching both of them, great performances. But there's also some other belters in there. I mean, Coleman Domingo, for one, love that man. Always great seeing him pop up in roles. Again, very versatile actor. Cousin Greg is also in the film. If you don't know Succession, well, then you won't understand what I mean when I say Cousin Greg, and you're just going to have to live with it. When I said that this would feel like a film which could eventually just feel a bit gimmicky because it's just based off a thread film, what I think stops it from falling into that too much is the direction from Bravo, who does a really good job of making it feel like it's got its own personality, its own kind of style and flavor to it. And I was impressed on the whole by most of the creative decisions she makes throughout the film. Some of those work better than others, and when there's so much crazy shit happening, I guess it's somewhat inevitable that there's going to be a lot of misses when you're just swinging all the time. So I will say that I wasn't completely on board, and I found some of the choices stylistically to be a little bit jarring. There's things like tweet noises, constant sound effects. Some of those work. A lot of them didn't really work for me, but the general tone and atmosphere of the film is something that I think Bravo gets absolutely right. And it reminds me a lot of other directors, such as like Harmony Korine, who did most notably Spring Breakers and most recently The Beach Bum. There are a couple of things that I did feel like kept cropping up for me in my thoughts that prevented me from really falling into it. And this is gonna sound like an annoying thing to say about the film, but I've got to say it anyway. Sometimes I was just like, is this it? Which is obviously going to sound like a weird thing to say if you've seen the film, because obviously crazy shit happened. Like, if that happened to me, I'd be going to my mates like, the craziest shit has just happened. You're not going to fucking believe it. But when I see it in the film, it's like it almost hits this stagnant section in the middle of the film. I kind of felt like it was the same feeling that was being battered over our head. Luckily, I think it does build on the momentum, and the story keeps pushing itself further to a really engaging and entertaining climax. And is also only about 86 minutes long, so it never really overstays its welcome. I think if it had been, 2 hours long, this thing could have started to feel one note for a long time. But full of those in this review, apparently. I'm really not sure on the ending for two reasons. Firstly, it does just end, right? We got to get that out the bat. It doesn't have an ending, this film. It just kind of is like, well, got to the end of the thread now, see you later. But the story is the story, right? So I do kind of understand that, like, if you've told the story and you're not really interested in doing anything outside of that, which the film obviously isn't really, why not just end it? I kind of admire the balls of it. Like, yeah, fine, we're done here. Get off the truck. So I'm like at a push and pull there. I do think I'm leaning towards it being a problem for the film. And the main reason I say that is because, like any adaptation, whether you're coming from a book or in this case from a Twitter thread, you are allowed to add things and change things in the name of making it more cinematic and making it a better film, right? You can't just take something, put it on screen and be like, well, it was like that in the original thing, so I'm free of all criticism here. If the story originally didn't have an ending, it's your job as a filmmaker to put one in, or do something with it, I think. So I'm not sure I want to let it off the hook for just not having an ending. But on the whole, I did come away from Zola just thinking that was a crazy fun time. I'd happily watch it again. I do think it kind of justifies itself. Yeah. Good time. What about you guys, though? Have you managed to check out Zola? Are you excited to see it when it drops in cinemas over here this week? Let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And we'll have a little chit chat and we'll talk about all of the things that we all found crazy about it. Maybe we shouldn't do that, actually, because some of us might get banned. Could get explicit down there. If you enjoyed watching me chat about this film, hit that subscribe button. Why the hell not? I will see you guys very soon for more thoughts on films from this year's Sundance London Film Festival. But until next time, I'm going to go lie down and just hope and pray that whatever happened to Zola here never happens to me. Although actually, I would love to meet Riley Keough, but just maybe not the Riley Keough from this film, just her in real life. I'd love to meet Coleman Dingo as well. And you know what? Maybe I'm not picky.